Here's what they don't tell you in those retirement planning seminars. Most people don't get to choose when they retire. 56% of workers over 50 lose their jobs involuntarily before they're ready. Another 15% quit because their work conditions become intolerable. That means only 1 in 4 people actually retire on their own terms. So today, let's talk about what really causes people to retire, and especially why this is an urgent matter for everyone over 50, and what you can do right now to take back control over your life during this important transition, whether it happens on your timeline or not. We need to talk about what actually triggers retirement, because if you think you're going to work until you're ready, you need a backup plan. I spent some time researching retirement patterns, and what I found shocked me. All those retirement calculators assume you'll work until 65 or 67, carefully accumulating savings, then gracefully transition into your golden years. But the data tells a completely different story. Most people are pushed out the door by layoffs, health issues, or conditions that make staying simply unbearable. And here's another shocking fact. Nearly half of all people spend less than a year thinking about retirement before it happens to them. Less than a year. The numbers are sobering. Let me share what actually happens to workers over 50. 56% will be forced out of their jobs or laid off at least once before they ultimately leave the workforce. That's more than half of us. 28% will experience at least one layoff between age 50 and retirement. Another 15% will stop working because their conditions deteriorated. They have reduced pay, fewer hours, terrible treatment from their supervisors, or being pushed to the sidelines. Add those all together and you get this. Only about 19% of people retire voluntarily on their own terms. The rest, they're reacting to circumstances outside their control. But it gets worse. When workers over 50 are laid off, only 10% find new jobs that pay as much as their former positions. 10%. The rest either take massive pay cuts or cobble together part-time gigs or exit the workforce entirely, often years before they plan to. And here's the part that keeps me up at night. 22% of people spend 6 months or less thinking about retirement before it happens. Another 22% spend only a year contemplating it. That's half of all retirees making one of the biggest transitions with less planning than they'd put into buying a new car. Well, that's depressing, Elle, you might say. Well, you're right, it is. But it's also liberating because once you know the truth, you can prepare differently. Instead of hoping you'll work until you're ready, you can start building something right now that gives you options whether you retire at 55, 62, or 70. Let me break down the real reasons people retire, starting with the most common. Reason number 1, health issues. This is the number 1 driver of forced retirement. Poor health, either your own or a family member's, is the primary reason people leave the workforce before they plan to. And it disproportionately affects people in physically demanding jobs like construction workers, nurses, home health aides, retail workers. Anyone whose job is hard on the body faces higher risk of health-driven early retirement. Over half of workers who retired between 55 and 64 did so involuntarily, and health problems were the main factor. Here's what they don't tell you. If you're in a lower income, physically demanding job, you're 6 times more likely to retire due to health reasons than someone in a higher paid desk job. Reason number 2, layoffs and job loss. More than half of workers over 50 will experience a layoff or job reduction in their lifetime. Sometimes it's a straightforward layoff. More often, it's dressed up as an early retirement package or voluntary separation, with the clear understanding that if you don't take it, you'll be pushed out anyway. Companies call this correcting the seniority mix. Let's call it what it is, pushing out experienced, higher paid workers to save money. Reason number 3, burnout, and deteriorating conditions. 46% of employees say most of their stress comes from work. 77% say work stress negatively impacts their mental health. For workers in their 50s and 60s, this accumulates into a breaking point. Maybe your responsibilities get reduced. Maybe you're suddenly getting negative performance reviews after years of stellar evaluations. Maybe new management makes it clear they prefer fresh energy. So you leave, voluntarily on paper, but involuntarily in reality. Reason number 4, family obligations. Your spouse gets sick, your parent needs care, your grandkids need childcare. About 9% of people leave jobs for these personal reasons, and women are disproportionately affected by this one. For those who do retire by choice, for the minority who actually get to choose, here are the triggers. Age milestones. 18% of Americans retire at exactly 62 when Social Security eligibility kicks in. Another wave retires at 65 when Medicare starts. The next one, financial independence. They've hit their number. They're pension vested, they're debt free. They finally feel like they can afford it. And next, pursuit of specific goals. They want to retire while they're healthy. They want to spend time with their grandkids. They want to start that passion project they've been putting off for 30 years. Here's why knowing this information, this reality, changes how you should prepare for retirement. Traditional retirement planning assumes you have control. Every retirement calculator, every financial advisor, every seminar assumes you'll work until your planned retirement date. They calculate, okay, if you work until 67 and save X amount per year, you'll have Y million dollars. But what if you don't get to work until 67? What if at 58 you're pushed out, or you must leave because of your poor health or the need to take care of a family member? Most retirement plans have no backup for involuntary early exit. Next is the identity crisis, because it's real. Financial advisors talk about the one more year syndrome, people who keep working because they can't imagine not working. Then something happens, a layoff, a health scare, a reorganization, and suddenly they're home with no plan, no purpose, and no idea what they're going to do with themselves. For many people, especially men, their job was their identity. Take that away unexpectedly, and you get depression, anxiety, and a sense of purposelessness that no amount of golf can fix. Next, the financial gap nobody prepares for. If you're forced out at 58 but plan to work until 65, that's 7 years of missing salary you expected to save, employer 401k matches, Social Security credits, health insurance before Medicare. 7 years of withdrawing from savings instead of adding to them. For most people, that gap is financially devastating. But here's the opportunity. What if instead of hoping you'd get to work until 65, you spent your 50s building something that could generate income whether you're employed or not? Not a second full-time job, not another exhausting career, but an asset, something that could provide supplemental income, purpose, community, and identity, regardless of what happens with your primary job. That's what I'm building with this YouTube channel. That's what I'm documenting here in real time, because I don't want to be part of that 56% who gets pushed out with no plan. So here's what you can do right now. Let me give you some practical actions based on this reality. Number 1, accept the truth and plan accordingly. Stop assuming you'll get to work until you're ready. Start asking, what if I can't? What if I get laid off at 58? What if I develop a health condition at 60? What if my company gets acquired and I'm suddenly redundant? This isn't pessimism, it's realism, and it's empowering because it forces you to build backup plans. Build income streams now, not someday. You have the time, energy, and the expertise right now. Use it. Start a YouTube channel, launch a newsletter, offer consulting in your field, create online courses, write that book. These aren't distractions from your career, they're insurance policies. If you get to keep working, great. These become supplemental income and creative outlets. If you're forced out early, you already have something generating money and giving you purpose. Document your knowledge before you lose access. If you're in a specialized field, you have decades of knowledge that will vanish when you leave. Start capturing it now. Write down processes, insights, lessons learned. Create training materials. Record explanations. This becomes the foundation for consulting, courses, or content creation after you leave, voluntarily or otherwise. Build your network outside your company. If your entire social circle is work colleagues, you're vulnerable. Join professional associations. Connect with people in your field on LinkedIn. Attend industry events and get to know people. When you leave voluntarily or not, you need a professional identity and a community that exists independent of your employer. Take care of your health like it's your job, because honestly, it is. The people who get to choose their retirement timeline are the ones who stay healthy the longest. Exercise isn't an option. Good nutrition isn't an option. Stress management isn't optional. Your health is the difference between retiring on your terms at 65 or being forced out at 58. Practice mini retirements. Take longer vacations. Use all your paid time off. Try spending a week doing nothing but what you would do in retirement. You need to know, do you actually like this? Or are you going to be bored and restless? Better to find out while you're still working and can adjust your plans. Have honest conversations. Talk to your spouse about what if. What if you're laid off next year? What if you develop health issues? What if the company restructures? Talk to people who've already retired, both voluntarily and involuntarily. Ask them what they wish they'd known. Talk to your doctor about your realistic health trajectory. Get honest about what your body can handle and for how many more years. Now here's the mindset shift I want to leave you with. The traditional thinking is, I'll work until 65, retire comfortably, then figure out what to do with my time. The new thinking, I'm building retirement assets starting now so I have options regardless of when my primary career ends. Traditional thinking, retirement is about stopping work. New thinking, retirement is about having the freedom to work on what matters to me on my terms for as long as I want. Traditional thinking, I'll be ready to retire when my financial advisor says I have enough. New thinking, I'll be ready to retire when I have both financial security and a clear sense of purpose for what's next. The people I see who are happiest in retirement aren't the ones with the biggest portfolios. They're the ones who built multiple sources of meaning before they left their careers. They're the ones who had projects waiting, who had income streams flowing in, who had communities beyond the workplace. They're the ones who retired to something, not just from something. Look, neither you nor I can control whether you'll work until you're ready. None of us can. But I can control whether I'm building something right now that gives me options. I can control whether I'm capturing my knowledge and putting it out into the world. I can control whether I'm creating income streams that exist independent of any employer. And I can share what I'm learning with you so you can do the same. That's what this channel is about, not just how to start a YouTube channel, but how to build something meaningful and income generating during the crucial years when you still have the energy and expertise to do it right. Because 56% of us are going to be pushed out before we're ready. Let's make sure we're in the 100% who are prepared for it anyway. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Are you building backup plans? Have you already experienced involuntary retirement? I'd love to hear your story. And if you're thinking about starting to build something, whether it's a YouTube channel, a newsletter, a consulting practice, anything, I've got a whole series on getting started, even if you're camera shy, tech challenged, or have no idea where to begin. Thanks for being here. Now, go build something that gives you options.